If you're trying to figure out how to stop overthinking, stop listening to people who tell you to just think positive, because if it was that easy, you'd have fixed it already. And here's the frustrating part. The more you try not to think about something, the more you think about it. You replay conversations, you imagine worst case scenarios, you analyse every text message, you read into people's reactions, and your mind never seems to switch off. So let me ask you something. Have you ever noticed that the things you worry about most rarely happen the way you imagined? Keep that thought, because it's important. In a minute, I'm going to show you the mistake that kept me trapped in overthinking for years. There was a period in my life when I lived almost entirely inside my own head. Divorce, money, relationships, the future. I'd think about everything except the one thing that actually mattered. Thought thinking more would solve my problems. It didn't. It made them worse. Because eventually I realized something. Not every thought deserves my attention. And that changed everything. You might be wondering, if overthinking doesn't solve problems, why do we do it? Simple. Because your brain thinks it's helping. Mind believes that if it thinks about a problem long enough, it can prevent pain. Here's the problem. Most overthinking isn't problem solving. It's mental rehearsal for disasters that haven't happened. That again, mental rehearsal for disasters that haven't happened. And that's exhausting, because your body reacts as if those imagined problems are real. And this is where most advice gets it wrong. They tell you to stop thinking. You can't. You're human. What you can do is stop believing every thought. And that's where the bucket of useless thoughts comes in, because not every thought deserves a vote. In a minute, I'm going to show you the simple question I ask myself now that stops most overthinking before it takes over. So let's get to the question I promised I'd answer. How do you actually stop overthinking? Not temporarily, not for 10 minutes, but properly. First thing I realized was that I wasn't struggling with my problems. I was struggling with my thoughts about my problems. That's when I started separating useful thoughts from useless thoughts. And trust me, most of what was going on in my head was useless. Here's the question. Is this thought helping me solve a problem, or is it helping me stay stuck in one? Because those are two very different things, and most people never notice the difference. What if they don't like me? What if I've messed everything up? What if it all goes wrong? None of those thoughts solve anything. They just create anxiety. And here's something nobody told me. Just because you think something doesn't make it true. The mind lies to you. Mine certainly did. It told me I was finished. It told me I was too old. It told me I'd failed. And if I'd believed every thought that turned up when I was living in that barn, I'd probably still be there mentally, even if I'd left physically. You might be wondering, okay, Scott, if I stop listening to those thoughts, what do I listen to instead? Action. Always action. Because action gives you evidence. Thoughts give you stories. And evidence beats stories every single time. When I was rebuilding my life, I stopped asking, how do I stop overthinking? And started asking, what's the next thing I need to do? One promise, one task, one conversation, one day at a time. That's how confidence comes back. And here's the truth. Overthinking isn't intelligence. It's often fear wearing an intelligent disguise. Fear of failure, fear of rejection, fear of getting hurt, fear of getting it wrong. But nobody gets certainty. We get decisions, we get action, and then we get feedback. So if you're searching for how to stop overthinking, start here. Ask yourself, is this thought useful? If it helps you solve something, keep it. If it keeps you trapped, throw it in the bucket. The goal isn't to have no thoughts. The goal is to stop letting useless thoughts run your life. And there's a massive difference, because the people who find peace aren't the people with perfect lives. They're the people who stop believing everything their minds tell them. Now for your question, what's the thought you've been carrying around for months, maybe even years, that you know isn't helping you anymore? Leave your answer in the comments. You might be surprised how many people are carrying the exact same thing,